The Chartographers.
Hello, everybody! You're listening to The Chartographers. It is a music-loving podcast for music-loving people where we take every single album by a particular artist and we rank it all from worst to first. And guys, I haven't said that particular phrase since a global pandemic happened. And
I'm having such flashbacks right now.
And
It's been so long.
I know. And listen, I'm not saying that there's any conspiracy theories out there. I'm just saying we dropped our last episode in February. A global pandemic happened. We haven't put out any episodes. I'm not saying that this will heal it, but at least we can try. In all seriousness, though, guys, wear a mask, wash your hands. It don't make you dollars, but it does make sense. But hey, listen, we are here. We are here to do a season premiere. It's our 5th season after our short little mini season of weird little fun nuggets. We decided to jump right in, and we are having a big season premiere. We're doing one of the biggest artists of the new millennium. That's right, guys. This week we're going to be ranking the albums of the one, the only, a group whose biggest claim to fame is that time they got beat out to #1 by fucking Crazy Frog. That's right, guys. We're talking about Coldplay, the Rockin' Honkies. If you're nasty. So, sorry, I had a cough there. I was doing the Super Bowl halftime show, so my voice went out. Anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know. Coldplay, they're a group of guys. They formed in uni over in London by 4 guys with regular white guy names, including one of them who's literally named Guy. And they drank from the same waters of which great bands like Travis and U2 and Radiohead came from, but obviously they had their own thing. They helped that they had a giant hit off their first album, which took them to superstar status pretty quickly. And there's a lot of stuff that happens when you get fame. Do you get too bloated? Do you sell out? There's a lot of questions that came out through their career, but over the course of 8 studio albums, they changed up their sound, they did a lot of things, and we are going to talk about it and dissect it today. But most importantly, who's doing the talking and dissecting? Let me tell you. First off, it is our 5th season. We didn't think it would go this long, so there was a lot of contract renegotiations. So it is with heavy heart that I have to tell you that, unfortunately, I am back as your host. That's right, I'm Evan Sadi. I'm the host of this podcast. You might know me as an editor over at Pop Matters. You've probably seen my writing in a whole bunch of other places, but I hope that you recognize me in the streets and in the tweets as the host of this podcast.
Oh my god.
And if you know anything about this podcast, then you know the person sitting next to me. That's right, the Phil Harvey to my Chris Martin. That's right, the one, the only, Taran O'Reilly. Taran!
Why are you making me regret doing this? We could have just ended with 50 and it would have been great.
A nice rounded legacy.
Oh man.
But
okay, here we are. Here we are. I forgot podcast Evan. It's been so long since I talked to him.
I know. Welcome back. It's so fun. But part of the contract negotiations means you get that very fancy chair that you're sitting in right now.
Yeah, this chair that rickets back and forth on its single axis.
You requested rickets. I thought that's one of the things.
Oh, okay.
But most importantly, here's the thing. You and I have been doing this for a long time. You could tell he's sick of it. But more importantly, we have a guest here, and he has been someone who's been in our circle for a long time. He is a music fan and music friend. If you need to know more about him, you can check him out on his Pop Culture Gabfest of a podcast that is Mitchcast. The founder of it, the one and the only, Mitchell Harvick is in studio. Mitch!
Hello!
How you doing?
I want to say this is not what I signed up for with that intro. Not for me, but before you introduced me, I know who I'm dealing with, so yes, it is what I signed up for.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, you know him.
Yes, I do. I do.
Yeah.
So, Mitch, you've been a fan of Coldplay for a while, though.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from the beginning, like, really. I mean, like, once they hit, like, the States with Yellow, etc., like, from the very beginning, owned their own parachutes and have been...
It was a journey. So you were able to be hyped for Rush of Blood to the Head when
Yes,
it came
actually
out.
was very, very, very
That's
excited
awesome.
for Rush of Blood when that came out.
That's
yes.
cool. And Taran, you mentioned how you were started, you were in the car and your sisters had either of those first 2 albums.
So I mean, when Parachutes came out, I was still fairly young, but I very vividly remember Yellow at the time. And then I was talking to my sisters about it, and it actually, my sister-in-law Nico was really into Coldplay at the time.
Former
and
guest.
used to drive me to dance class. And when I was just talking to her this week, and she was like, oh yeah, I probably put those albums on for you. And I was like, that is why all these first couple of albums were very familiar to me.
Right.
But, like, I didn't know all the words. Like, it wasn't that level of, like, I know that this was in my house. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I could hum it, totally. So that was actually really fun to sort of... There were definitely some album tracks here, because obviously I was familiar with a lot of the singles, but there were some album tracks here where I was like, oh, this is like bringing something back for me.
Like
It
sensory
had
Yeah.
been like 15 years since I'd listened to it, so
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, and then I also, like, I got on board for Viva La Vida, like, you know, when that was all happening, I owned that album, the physical version, and loved that. So, yeah.
Well, great. Well, listen, I'm excited to talk about Alice and rank all these things. As per always, it's not a battle so much as it is we're going to come to these things as a consensus. Like, in my mind, I have a couple bottom ones, I have a couple top ones. It can go a lot of different ways. I'm super excited to see what happens. And as we know, a good argument can change an opinion, but it's going to be about 8 studio records. And it's kind of nice because their discography is pretty clean in that way. Chris Martin didn't go off and do any fucking solo shit. The band is kind of together. They put out a bunch of EPs, but obviously we don't do that. There's Christmas single, Christmas Lights. We're not going to count because fuck Christmas songs. But most importantly, 8 albums. I know, no one does. But the thing is, so this goes all the way back to their more acoustic-leaning debut, Parachutes, from 2000. Their big mainstreamy breakthrough that was A Rush of Blood to the Head in 2002. Their big, shiny mountain of a record that is very shiny, X and Y, of 2005. Their much more colorful, vaguely psychedelic record, Viva La Vida, or Death and All His Friends, from 2008. Their Day Glow experiments that was Milo Xyloto from 2011. Their sad heartbreak breakup album, Ghost Stories, from 2014. Their colorful psychedelic, hey, we're gonna top the charts now, A Head Full of Dreams, in 2015. And their world-spanning, world-beat, exciting record that is Everyday Life, from 2019. That is 8 albums, that is 8 slots, and guys, we're not gonna waste any more of your damn time, because if you made it through the end show, oh my god, you're here in the thick of it, let me tell you.
Are they always this long? We're
Yes.
at minute 7.
I know.
We have a lot of info to get through.
Exactly. That's why they hired me as host again, the producers. So most importantly, 8 albums, 8 slots. Mitchell Harvick, I'm so glad that after all of our talking and all of these years, you're finally on the fucking podcast.
I'm honestly very excited to be here. I'm actually really happy that this is going to be my first episode with you guys.
Yeah.
Because I think Coldplay is a band that I feel like people are fans of but aren't like really vocal about it. I don't know, they're just kind of like, there's not that fervor, so it's one of those things where it's like, I'm happy to talk about them, because I feel like people aren't, like, maybe feel shy to talk about Coldplay, so I feel like I'm happy to just go all in.
Well, I almost, and we will get deeper into this when we talk about specific albums, but I almost feel like a couple of their singles have been so omnipresent that that's sort of given them a reputation to a lot of people that isn't necessarily completely accurate. I think that the way that they have been marketed as a whole to the masses doesn't completely reflect who they are as a band.
Yes.
And that is definitely a journey that I went through this week listening, as I was like, oh, they have a lot more sides to them than I thought. And even though I've listened to things since, never mind. We'll get to that.
Yeah. But hey, you're our guest, and this is your first episode, and depending on your opinions, it might be your last. But most importantly, Mitch, you are the guest. You're in the hot seat, so we're not asking for definitive rankings. We just want your nomination. Number 8, what, in your opinion, is the worst Coldplay album?
So, before I start, there are a few things I want to point out that by listening, what I realized about Coldplay that was very surprising.
Sure.
One is how short their albums are. They're like... They're about 45 minutes each. The longest one is X and Y, with just being like a little over an hour. And like even with Everyday Life being like a 2-disc, it's still
like 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 46. So that really surprised me. So I wanted to say that's one thing that really like stood out to me a lot about that.
I respectfully disagree that you think these albums are short. I'm just thinking about there's been so many like pop artists where they like every album clocks in at 35 minutes.
Well, see, for me, because they're more like band, I wouldn't necessarily put them in like that pop.
Okay.
So like for me, I understand like like a straight up pop artist, I expect like the quick. But for like a not jam band, but like stadium big band, the fact that like their records are really like, for me, I felt like short. I thought, anyways, that really surprised me. But so I guess I'll get into what I consider to be their worst album, and it is X and Y.
Okay, Mitch, walk us through the context, the whys, and the hows. Why would you nominate that?
X and Y is the Coldplay album where it felt like somebody was writing, this is what they think a Coldplay album would sound like.
Yeah, that's That's a great way to describe that.
So they're doing stuff. I mean, even though it's only their third album, but they're doing sounds that we had previously heard in the first two with Parachutes and Rush of Blood, so they're really similar like that. Lyrically, it was a stretch on pretty much every song.
Oh, yeah.
I do have to say, I really like Square One, and I really like Till Kingdom Come, which is their first and last song of the album. I think they bookend really well, but everything in between, they could go either way. They're all very okay. I don't really think any of them are terrible, but like none of them are anything to write home about.
Right, there's nothing like terrible on this record. And I remember specifically, I was, formative years. I've mentioned before, the first album that I played to death was the Garden State soundtrack, which opens with Don't Panic off of Parachutes, which I was absolutely in love with. And so one year for Christmas, I was like, I'm just going to ask for like CDs from a bunch of the artists from this.
That's smart.
So like here are other sounds, but that was the year that X and Y came out. So that's the album that I got for Christmas, and I put it on, and I was like, this sucks. And my opinion of Coldplay, honestly, truly, never really recovered from that. Maybe until this week. Like, I just, I remember just putting it on, and all of the songs just blend together here. There's some tempo variation, but not really enough. I mean, everything's kind of within the same 20 clicks of each other.
Yeah.
Nothing's super driving. They're like, even the ballads are sort of more mid-tempo-y. And I will say, I remember So You Think You Can Dance performance to both Fix You and Speed of Sound, and so I sort of have...
I think I know the Fix You song.
You can kind of
picture the dance, yeah.
I sort of have soft spots for those, and I also think, like, White Shadows is solid. Also, one other standout for me here is Low. I wish they do this one part in the middle where there's like a tick-a-tick-a-tick-tick-a-tick-a-tick that's happening. It's like 15 seconds. And then it never comes back again. And I was like, this is the most interesting thing that's happened rhythmically, literally on the entire record. And it's 15 seconds long, and then they never come back to it. And I'm just like, well, you had something here.
Well, I feel like that's the whole album. It's like, you have a little something here. It has moments. Every song has that kind of thing.
In the potential to be a good song.
But they were just like sort of okay to let all of them be these 5-minute, like, shoegazy, just wash of guitars.
Well, the thing is that the production on this album sucks the life out of any potential the song set. I think it's a bad batch of songs, truth be told. And I think also lyrically, it's pretty fucking weird, too. The thing is, as we will come up, there's a lot of lyrics in the across the discography about their feet being off the ground, about raindrops, and about birds in general.
And a lot of teardrops.
A lot of teardrops.
Yeah, a lot of
tears.
sky.
Yeah.
A lot of like looking up and
that kind of
that
thing.
whole thing.
But the thing is, when you have your lead single be a song called Speed of Sound, and Speed of Sound is so clearly a rewrite of Clocks, and not even a good rewrite of Clocks. It is like virtually the same fucking song.
And that's why it's the whole, this is what somebody thought a Coldplay would like sound like and do. And this is one of the reasons why, again, like X and Y is, I think, the reason why Coldplay does get a bad rap, and they are kind of stuck in that area, that realm.
Safe soft rock. And after this came out, that's when the New York Times did their article about Coldplay being the most insufferable band of all time.
Well, also, this is their highest selling record.
Which is still, because there are some critics.
It was
oh my god.
Moving after these two huge successes, and it had two of their highest. Speed of Sound and Fix You were both huge hits. Like, when you look at actual chart positions... Globally, they were two of their most successful songs as far as the charts are concerned. So X and Y is sort of what cemented their reputation, really unfortunately. Because it is their worst album. And I think this is a perfect time to mention, before Viva La Vida came out, Chris Martin did an interview with Rolling Stone where he talked about... they went to Brian Eno and was like, do you have... Because obviously the critical response to X and Y was not great. So they went to Brian Eno and they were like, do you know a producer that can help make us become a better band? And he was like, I'll take a shot. And then they were like, okay, what should we change about our sound? And he was like, your songs are too long, you repeat yourself too much, your lyrics are bad.
Like, just laid it out.
It was like, you have potential, but you need to change a lot.
Yeah, like
And then they did.
Yeah, and so we could talk a little bit more about the results of that effort, but the thing is that when there were interviews before Viva La Vida, even Chris Martin said, I promise my lyrics will get better, because I think there was a little bit, he knew what was going on. And listen, as the one thing coming back to this podcast, we know sometimes we spend a lot of time shitting on albums, because let's be real, it's really fun. We have a whole bunch of other ones to get through. I'm in agreement with you, Mitch. There is only one other choice I have, but I'm fine with locking in X and Y at number 8. Taran?
I think we should talk about the other choice before we do that.
What's the other choice?
Because for me, it's a very obvious other choice for last place, and it is A Head Full of Dreams.
Oh, see, not me.
Oh! Ooh!
And for me, it's like, I say that sort of half-heartedly. You know, I went back and forth on this one because I think the title track for Head Full of Dreams is like one of my faves, actually. I love the groove. I love the production. But then this album just like never clicks into, it's trying to be something so hard that it doesn't read as genuine to me. I think Hymn for the Weekend is a horrible missed opportunity. I think the production and the melody are good enough, but the lyrics are so stupid, and you underuse Beyonce. I don't know how you have a Beyonce collab that makes her so boring. How did you make Beyonce boring?
I haven't read
to do that.
I haven't read the full Bible, so I don't know which part is in there, but you can't do that. You can't underuse Beyonce. That's just a sin.
I also think that Everglow is probably one of my least favorite songs from them. And my other big problem with this record is that this is Chris Martin's worst record vocally, in my opinion. I think there are a lot of times when he's like, well, I'm a huge... Because at this point, he's a pop star.
Right.
Early albums, sure, they were still making rock. This is a pop record.
Yes.
100%. And so he goes up into this, like, tenor range. I feel like he knows exactly the highest note that he can hit without switching into falsetto, and he uses it a bunch. He does it on Everglow, he does it on Army of One, he does it on Amazing Day, he does it on Up and Up, and every single time I'm like, ugh, dude, I'm sorry, auto-tune can't save that note for you. Not like auto-tune and reverb can't make it sound like you're not trying to push this sound out of your throat with every last ounce of effort you have, and it just sounds like screechy almost.
Okay.
And so that sort of takes away the
power,
joyous feeling
Yeah.
that this album should have, because I just it takes me out of my immersion a little bit. Also on the Spotify, Army of One and X Marks the Spot are one track, and I hate it because X Marks the Spot is a bad song.
It's Kendrick Lamar's Swimming Pools Drank, but Chris Martin singing over it. It's that same exact fucking beat. Which is a problem with this entire fucking album, is the random parts when he just decides to rip off another artist suddenly. Because Everglow, that piano way and the way it leads to the chorus sounds a whole fucking lot like Leanne Womack's I Hope You Dance. Up and Up sounds a whole lot like that one fucking song by that artist who I can't remember right now. But
that song. That person
don't you know that one?
And it kind of sounds like Up and Up.
The guy and the girl, and they sing the song.
Yeah. Phosphorescent is who I'm thinking of. But he has this song for Zula. No, but like it's this thing, it kind of has the same kind of like warped.
Totally.
Completely.
Totally.
Like the thing is, it borrows that exact same, and the things throughout this whole thing, I'm like, well, what are you doing just like doing these either direct or indirect ripoffs on here?
I definitely think, Chris Martin, the nicest man in rock, did not rip people off on purpose. I do definitely think it was a parallel thinking. We literally just put out an album last year, so we recorded this very quickly, and maybe didn't notice.
I realized how close they were.
It's the closest turnaround of any record they put out. So I think that maybe they didn't notice a couple of the issues.
Quality control.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about those vocal takes too, is I think even though this is a big pop record and like the production is lush, and I think the title track and Adventure of a Lifetime are both actually like really solid songs.
I like Up and Up too. I don't know. I think it's a good close.
We gonna get Get together right now.
I don't need it to be 6 minutes long.
Oh!
It's I maybe 3.5.
Like, the thing is,
But,
they really hit on the millennial woe with Viva La Vida, but by the time they get to Head Full of Dreams, it's, like, out of control, the sheer amount of ways that they're, like, designing songs for that reason. I will say one quick note on here. I will still go X and Y for my lowest spot, just for the reason of... I don't know what sin is worse, having a bad song that is still memorable, or a whole album that I basically forget outside of Till Kingdom Come. And Till Kingdom Come, this acoustic Johnny Cash tribute, one of the best songs on there, and it truly is that moment of just like, it cuts through like a knife. It cuts through that production sheen so quickly of like, why wasn't the rest of the album like this, or at least interspersed with textures that were different from this? And while there's a lot of bad songs on Head Full of Dreams, I will say that, we'll see what happens right here, but at the very least, I'm going to go with Mitch. I'm going to go ahead and lock in X and Y in our number 8 slot right now.
Yeah, I support that.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and just add that in there. But the thing is, while we just are talking about it right here, we're having the discussion, so the question then becomes, at that point, Mitch, what would you want to add to number 7 if you don't think it's Head Full of Dreams?
No, with this discussion. Okay, so before I go into it,
Right.
I actually had a really hard time figuring out my order.
Okay.
Pretty much the only thing I had set in my mind was the worst was X and Y.
Okay.
So on my list, where I have Head Full of Dreams is low, and with this discussion, I will have switched what I had as 7 with Head Full of Dreams.
Okay, but there's other things you disagree with us, or there's songs that you like on here? I mean, aside from Up and Up, obviously.
I mean, it's
your favorite song of all time.
Of all time. No, it's one of, I think they actually do a really good job on ending their albums. I think they kind of nail, I feel like, their last songs really well. And I think this kind of has that tradition.
Okay.
Because I think, like, Everything's Not Lost is a great, Amsterdam's a great way to end, Till Kingdom Come is a great ending, they kind of have a lot of really good, for me, it's like, this is the last song, if this was the first time you listened to it, there is that...
Totally.
It has...
You get the clue.
You get the clue, and so, I don't know, there's something about it, that's why I like it.
I will say, though, one other cardinal sin on this one here, as Taran and I are both big fans of the artist Tovlo, and committing the sin. If you're going to bring her on for fun, and you're going to, once again, underuse your guest artist. Oh my god.
If you're going to bring on Tovlo, and the song is called Fun, why does it sound like you're cutting yourselves?
Yeah.
It sounds depressing.
Yeah.
And Tovlo is not a balladeer.
No.
Tovlo is a sexy
slutty
bitch.
pop artist,
Slutty bitch. And I don't understand why you didn't... If you were going to have her do something, why didn't you have her do that?
She's not the right energy.
At all.
On her big pop album.
Yeah. So that's, for me,
all right.
After this, Head Full of Dreams, number 7.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love it. Great. Fantastic. That is good. So we got X and Y at 8. We got Head Full of Dreams at 7. Great discussion so far, but now I feel like it's the part where the battle lines are going to start to be drawn. Taran, what would you nominate in our number 6 spot?
So this is hard for me because I do honestly believe that the rest of the albums that are left are successful artistic statements. It's just a question of which one is the least successful.
I would agree with that.
And that being said, while this album really impressed me and surprised me in a lot of ways, I think I have to go with Everyday Life. I really, really like Everyday Life, and I want to spend more time with it because it is the least Coldplay of all of these 8 Coldplay albums. And absolutely, I think that's one of its biggest strengths. I don't know that Arabesque, for example, would fit on any other record. This big, stomping horn number that features Stromae singing in French, and then the structure of it goes all over the place. And I think they clearly had a lot of statements they wanted to make. Like Trouble in Town, I think, is a really solid... It pays just enough attention to the Black Lives Matter movement to, I think, not be
overt.
Not be a little eye-rolly as this white band that's putting out a statement
they're explaining what it is.
Yes.
They're not really doing that. It's more like
not
a comment.
It's not like Trouble in Town, parentheses, tribute to Eric Garner or anything else.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
But I do think the build on that song is also really, really good.
The
And
rising
very,
piano
it
lines.
feels very Radiohead.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they include these sort of spiritual moments of like broken and when I need a friend, and also guns is obviously that's making a big statement.
Yeah. First time you ever swore in a Coldplay song.
Oh, I know. I remember listening to it. I was like, did he just say fuck?
Nicest band in rock.
Like,
and the you know, here's the thing, like the lyrically it's a little bit on the nose of, you know, this court to class that we need more guns, like, okay, but at the same time I don't mind the sentiment. It's weird because like it feels like a collection of broken ideas. It feels just so scattershot, but enjoyably so.
That's well,
you know?
this almost feels like, and I hate to make this comparison all the time, but it's sort of like White Album-y, where it's you know, they're pulling from a lot of different traditions and
influences
and musical styles, and they're sort of doing a song in each one, and I think that speaks to the title of it, is that they wanted it. They're not just doing everyday life, because they're also very much a global band and have been for you know, multiple over a decade by the time this album comes out. Right. So, you know, and they go on 18-month tours. They go actually hit every continent. They actually tour in Africa and in India and South America.
They're Brazil fans.
Which a lot of acts even at this level do a Europe tour and a North American tour, and then that's kind of it. And I feel like they wanted to, you know, reflect that their experience is more than that. Like with Church, you sort of get that Indian influence, and then Echo is actually named after the hometown of the guest vocalist, like where she lived in Africa before she emigrated to the UK. And yeah, I just think, and then they have the song with the Persian poem, Children of Adam.
See, for me, what you're saying is actually making me like the record more. So because I have this place a little higher, and for me, like everyday life, to kind of go into like what the kids are saying now, it's a vibe. That's what I'm saying. Like there is the whole, like, because it has this really nice, easy flow to it. Like, and I really think that, like, I feel like Cry 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 is one that kind of stands out a lot, but like I feel like this is definitely one that's not really trying to have a single on it. Like, I know they did like have things go out there, but it's more about the collectiveness of the album itself. So for me, like, this is the better version of what I would put at number 6, which is Ghost Stories. See, so I think Ghost Stories is the precursor to Everyday Life, which is the more successful version. Because for me, like, Ghost Stories kind of just happen. Ghost Stories for me is very sleepy. It's very like, every song sounds the same except for all of a sudden A Sky Full of Stars, which for me was like, maybe the song they were writing to put on A Head Full of Dreams, but then put it on Ghost Stories instead, because it sounds nothing like the rest of the album. And for me, like, I really couldn't tell when one song ended and one song began. And so for me, that's why I would put Ghost Stories at 6 instead of Everyday Life.
You're making a good point, personally.
I feel you on that. And the thing is, in my personal estimation, I would probably put Ghost Stories just a little bit higher than Everyday Life.
Because you love Sky Full of Stars.
No, actually, I think that the inclusion of Sky Full of Stars is a glaring, like, it
sticks out like a
blemish.
sore thumb.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't fit the whole
doesn't
thing.
fit the vibe at all, and I almost agree with you. I think they should have saved it, except I also think that they wanted to have a hit off this record, so they put it on anyway.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, that's why
when you're talking about it's a vibe.
I mean, this is a vibe too.
Ghost Stories is a
full vibe.
It's full vibe, and I really, really like that opening salvo of Always in My Head, Magic and Ink. I think that's a really strong collection of songs. And then I'm also a John Hopkins fan, and he did the whole instrumental for Midnight. So I just really dig Midnight. Always have.
Let me just say that one of the things that you may not know is that when there was, I remember after Milo Zailoto, Midnight appeared kind of out of nowhere as a song, like before it was even announced the album, and I remember just like hearing it, and I'm like, holy fuck, what if they become, like, good? Like, it was such a good, striking... It took me a second to even catch that. I'm just like, this is so dark, this is so interesting, this is so propulsive and fascinating for what they're trying to do. I'm like, this could be the thing that turns Coldplay around. And then the other songs kind of started coming out, like, oh, it's still kind of the same Coldplay a little bit, too. So I will say that ultimately, at the end of the day, Ghost Stories is a pleasant experience. I would say Midnight is so far and away one of the best things on here, but even revisiting it this week, always in my head, I pretty much like it.
Yeah.
Magic, I understand why it was a bit of a low-key hit, and honestly, Ink did it for me. It really did, with its little fucking just light production about, it's a little bit cheeky, but, I'll take a little
I feel
bit
like this is their, well, other than Parachutes is really simple since it's their first album, but in comparison to everything after
like
it,
musically
and
yeah.
everything,
It's definitely stripped down.
It came, for me, just like, just my personal preference, it was just, again, a little too sleepy, didn't have enough, like, peaks and valleys for me, whereas, like, Everyday Life had that flow where it would have those more somber, like softer songs, but then you would pick up with something like Cry Cry Cry, so it's like so for me, like, just sonically and how it flows, that's why I would put Ghost Stories at number 6.
Let me just say this about Everyday Life, though, at the very least. One of the things that I like about it is that it is so unvarnished. It is very much behind the mirror, like WOTW/POTP, Women of the World, Power of the People. Feels unfinished. And even, like, in the actual lyric book, there's a part where, even in the lyrics, it says, like, I haven't finished this yet. Like, and they still put it out anyway. And it's one of those things where it's kind of a nice behind-the-curtain thing just to see them in process of tying all these disparate elements together.
Well, and I think that's something that Brian Eno taught them to not be afraid of, because we'll talk about it later.
Afraid on the other albums,
but like Viva La Vida is full of little like 2-minute tacked on the end like song snippets, and they just in general have a lot of hidden tracks. So I sort of feel like Everyday Life, they were just like, well, instead of hiding them, they just made them part of the track list, because it's 16 songs, but it's only 52 minutes. It's not actually it's not that much longer. It's shorter than Rush of Blood and X and Y. Even though it's a quote-unquote double album, because there are so many of those like 1 to 2 minute interludes on it.
I will say, though, the thing about Everyday Life is that it is simultaneously a bold step for them and the least Coldplay sounding, in a way where, like, some of these songs are very Coldplay sounding. Orphans, I get it, absolutely. Even though it's another Drunk with Your Friends.
Orphans could have been on Head Full of Dreams.
Absolutely, completely. But the rest of it just feels so disparate. I like that they're pushing a direction, but it doesn't coalesce around a clear theme or a clear idea or statement. Like, it's political lyrics, and it's drawing from all these different world themes, but I'm not necessarily getting as much of a through line through it. Because by the time they get to fucking Champion of the World, which is such an obvious, dumb piece of shit pop single, I hate it so much. But, like, the thing is, so, like, I appreciate the effort in it, but honestly, and I mean this...
Okay.
I mean this truly. Ghost Stories has a bit more of a through line. I don't necessarily love Ghost Stories, and honestly, the way either of these two albums are the next slots, I'm going to be pretty happy. So I don't have like a strong thing about it, but I would say Ghost Stories is a more artistically cohesive thing, even though I think Everyday Life, at the end of the day, is a better album, if that makes any sense. You know?
Well, if you think Everyday Life, at the end of the day, is a better album, then let's put it higher.
Okay. You want to put Ghost Stories at number 6?
That's where I would.
An Everyday Life at 5. I'm fine with that.
That feels about right to me.
They
honestly.
really, because like you said, they're both a vibe that has its problems. You know?
So let's just recap for all of our fun little fans at home, guys. Use the hashtag the Chartographers to follow along. Number 8 is X and Y. Number 7 is A Head Full of Dreams. Number 6 is Ghost Stories. Number 5 is Everyday Life, which leaves us with what I think some people might be predicting as the top 4: Parachutes, A Rush of Blood to the Head, Viva La Vida or Death and All His Friends, and Milo Xyloto. And guys, just because I read off those titles and I just said it, it kind of is obvious to me what should be number 4. I think we should all say it at the same time, even. That's how confident I am. That's right, guys. Let's do it. In 3, 2, 1. Milo Xyloto. Oh my god. Holy shit. Holy shit. Things just happened. All right. So, let's,
I'm just kidding. It's
oh
Milo
my
Xyloto.
Jesus. Don't fuck with me like that, Taran O'Reilly. God damn it. Milo Xyloto. Let's talk a little bit about Milo Xyloto. It's weird because it's kind of positioned as like, it's basically a sequel to Viva La Vida to a degree. I feel like Viva La Vida is very much kind of like that.
No.
When I say sequel, that doesn't mean it's a good sequul.
No, but I don't even think it's a sequel.
Okay.
I actually think it's kind of talking about. I actually like Milo Xyloto is kind of like the precursor of what they did with
Pop era Coldplay.
Head Full of Dreams. So to me, but it's like the better version of it. It definitely leans on that. Whereas I don't see any correlation.
I definitely
between those.
think Milo Xyloto wouldn't have happened without Viva La Vida.
True.
But I do definitely think they're different animals.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
The electronic influences on
heavy
Milo
into
Xyloto.
synth and drum machines.
Yeah,
here.
well,
yeah.
in this decade,
Yeah.
they do. Really.
Well, if this is we had previous conversation about how definitive like 2011 and 2012 is for like pop music and sound.
That was and this album sounds so much like 2011. It's got those deep vocoder chords happening on the Hurts Like Heaven. It's got like all the millennial woes.
Yeah.
It's got tons of like really gimme guitar hooks. It's got those big like EDM synths happening.
I do have to say before, like with these last four, and I think this is kind of what we were hitting on with Coldplay, is now like the different sounds. Like each one of these is really definitively like such. I feel like a different like sound of Coldplay because we have with
a vibe, as the kids would say.
But like with Milo, like I feel like we have like now we really see kind of those eras of what they were doing and like how they're growing. So this is for me like I really all I really knew is like my last and like the rest were kind of gut feelings going off the discussion. But now but really I knew like the top was like going to be the hardest for me to really figure out, and this is like kind of getting to that point. But like with Milo, like I enjoyed pretty much all the songs, but it's just a little scatterbrained. When you talk about everything is not really as cohesive, it felt like maybe they weren't fully going into that pop. So because they weren't like full force on it, like it didn't quite.
This was supposed to be two different albums.
Oh.
They were making an acoustic album because they had been threatening to make an all acoustic-y album for a while, and they started recording that first, and then they also started like a poppy album called Milo Xyloto.
Okay.
And then
It has a story.
they realized that some of the songs that they were doing acoustically weren't working, and so they changed them over to the more like fully produced electronic sound. For example, Charlie Brown was originally one of the acoustic ones, and then they were like, oh, hold on, no, we need to go all in on this. So that's sort of why it feels a little
disjointed. It just felt, just like, I still enjoyed it, but when listening to like, because multiple times throughout the week, I started to hear those like, this quite doesn't mix.
Well, you know what? I think the biggest thing about it, though, is that while musically there's a lot of things I really like on here. And the thing is that, and this is true throughout the entire Coldplay discography, whenever they lean a little bit harder to hard rock, it's fun. Because whenever you let Johnny Buckland out of his cage, when you let him fucking do his guitar shit, it's pretty great. Even if it's a pop guitar thing, like an Adventure of a Lifetime, it's good. But like, when he goes a little bit harder, as he does on fucking Major Minus, ding, ding, which is pure Radiohead,
it's such
absolutely.
A fucking
but
good
it's
song.
A jam. It is a fucking jam.
Major Minus, somehow I didn't notice until like yesterday, and then I was like, wait, is this incredible? It's like, it literally doesn't sound like anything else to me. It almost sounds like it belongs on like Parachutes or like one of their pre-debut EPs.
It could have easily been on Rush of Blood, honestly.
Totally,
yeah.
Because it just it kicks in a way that they don't again.
Right.
Really.
But the thing is that I would say with this album, after he really, and I'm going to be honest, it's not perfect, but he really course-corrected on his lyrics for Viva La Vida. I think there's a lot of really great, fascinating lines on Viva La Vida. And on Milo Xyloto, I don't know what the fuck happened where he just kind of lost the goddamn plot. When he has the girl world rhyme scheme of fucking Paradise, and also life goes on, it gets so heavy, the wheel it breaks the butterfly.
I hate that line.
Holy shit, dude.
The wheel breaks the butterfly. That's not a thing.
It's just there's that up in flames where this relationship is going up in flames, and you end with the last line of, well, can you put some water on? I'm like, come the fuck on. What kind of fucking theater school bullshit are you trying to pull off with your lyric sheet here? And the whole album, it just feels weirdly amateur hour in that way, despite a couple musically very strong moments on there. I just think overall, just like the impact is just lost.
I also have to talk about Princess of China.
Should have been a princess.
I think Rihanna sings the shit out of this song. It sounds so good to me, and I'm like a low key Rihanna stan. Like, I'm not all in, but like she is really very
Future
very
Chartographers episode potential.
But they talk about whereas they misused Beyonce,
they used Rihanna
perfect.
perfectly. The other thing about Princess of China, it always has felt like a weird song, right?
Yeah. Well, because honestly, it's just a lot of there's not really much lyrics.
Well, Taran
I
analyzed
actually
it. He did the
listened
thing.
to and I broke down the song structure because we're used to verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pop song. So this Princess of China is instrumental hook, Chris Martin verse, instrumental hook, Rihanna verse, chorus 1, chorus 2, instrumental hook, outro.
Wow.
They never repeat what sounds like the chorus. That could have been a princess, you'd be a king. It only happens once. Isn't that crazy?
Blowing minds left and right.
See, like I love it when like musicians mess with form because that's one of the reasons why we remember this. I feel like this one is like kind of has stayed within pop culture. Like it kind of has that.
Totally.
Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, Paradise is still to this day one of their biggest hits.
I like Paradise.
Well, because it reminds you of your favorite reality show of all time, right?
Paradise
With Tara Reid.
with Tara Reid, her E show where it's her travel show, and I will forever always sing Paradise instead of Paradise. It always makes me smile.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy Milo. It's fun. I like Coldplay when it has life.
Yeah.
And, and I feel like for me, this is why I feel like it's placed a little bit more over like everyday life and like ghost stories because they are a little bit too somber just for my taste.
Mm-hmm.
So when Coldplay's there, like as that band and like big, and because they're known as stadium bands, like they sell out huge stadiums, which also for me, after listening to all the records, I find kind of interesting since a lot of their sound is very soft and like kind of slower.
But it's also perfect for a stadium-wide sing-along.
True.
Like,
That's,
the thing about, like, The Scientist is that it's so slow that you'll never, like, get the lyrics wrong because you can always, like, you can take a second and think about what's coming next and you can experience the song with them.
Collectively
Right.
as the stadium, and then you feel like you're right there with them on stage.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I just found that to be very interesting because we're so used to like their singles. Most of their singles are like the bigs. Like that's why like Ghost Stories, like Sky Full of Stars was like the single. So it's like of course because it is the one that they can go on stage and have everyone sing. So that's why going through this, I feel like there was that kind of that surprise where it's like, wait, Coldplay has more texture too than kind of these.
Right. Well, and I think that's also sort of the weakness of some of the last three albums that we've ranked already is because at that point in their career they're leaning into the stadium rock and it almost does them a disservice, which is why of the four that are left we're now putting Milo Xyloto here because it's doing the same thing. It's starting to lean into this, oh, white girls love us and they'll go to our concerts and sing along in the front row.
And Brazilians.
Well,
Their live album is really
you're
good,
right.
actually.
You're right. No, that wasn't fair. They are beloved everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's
I
sort
know
of
what you
that
mean. I know
millennial
what you mean.
woe and the Coldplay makes me think of Ugg boots. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All I will say is that I think you hit it on the nail. I would say, and this is true in my heart, I wouldn't even call Milo Xyloto necessarily a great album, but it is a very enjoyable album.
It's very
so
enjoyable.
fun,
It's fun.
Yeah.
You know what it also reminds me of sometimes? It
Kesha.
almost feels like a Passion Pit album.
Okay.
Do you know with the like
sing
sort
along,
of and
synthy
the like
choruses.
synthy producing on the vocals?
Yeah.
That sentence was hard for me. But yeah, in those moments when they aren't going full acoustic, it sort of feels that like that hyper pop from that era,
Well, I think we're all in agreement, Milo Xyloto at number 4. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Well, now, guys, this is where the shit hits the motherfucking fan. So, friends, I'm going to go ahead and ask it for you. If you could please do me a favor and let me know, Mitchell, what is, in your estimation, the number 3 album that should hit this fucking slot?
I feel so much pressure on me right now because these last three
are beloved.
They're like
It's the foundation of their legacy, these last 3. Outside of a couple of hit singles, these are the albums of which we know Coldplay
because
for.
each one
has a distinct identity.
Distinct identity, like maybe like what might put one over the other is maybe just like a song. You know what I mean? Like just
totally.
one song is what makes me have to decide.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Just say it.
So I would say Viva That was my number 3.
That is exactly what I would say as well, personally. Yes, that is what I would say. Taran doesn't look like he agrees.
We'll get there.
Okay. Let's just talk about it real quick, though, for a little bit. Viva La Vida was the reboot that they needed after X and Y. It is full of color. It is full of texture. It is full of songs that, for the sake of it, he joins them with other songs or other interludes to kind of make them longer, more artistic. As part of the process, they worked with Brian Eno. They broke down other albums that they thought were effective, and one of the big ones was OK Computer by Radiohead. It's not the same sound at all, but just in terms of structure, in terms of how songs are laid out.
The song Yes is clearly a...
Oh, yeah.
Radiohead song.
Yes,
I remember because you mentioned that to past time we hung out, and I was like, oh, interesting, because I didn't know that fact. And so then going through my listens, and especially when Yes came on, I was like, oh, there's the Radiohead, because we watched their documentary. And they talked about how they talked about how much Radiohead, like their fans, and that influenced them, and so this was like, I feel like they were finally like, yes, we could finally use this influence to kind of show like our version of it.
And I think as part of it too is in that documentary they talk about the process of recording X and Y was really hard for them. It wasn't fun for them at all. It felt very much like a day job of clocking in and clocking out versus having fun.
It.
Yeah. We as the fans felt it. And so for Viva, it's one of the things where like they're recording, they're doing group vocals in different locations. They're trying out all these different things. And like even the percussion sounds of Lost on something like that is something that they hadn't really even attempted or tried before. There's a lot of very interesting textures. Their first ever transatlantic #1 in the form of Viva La Vida. There's just a lot of fun things to be had on here. And the thing is that even if I don't love every single moment of this album, and I will say I don't love every single moment of this album, I can respect the fuck out of it because it feels... It's one of those things where, like, when you see certain performers on stage, and, like, even if you don't understand the performance or whatnot, you could tell they're having fun, they're enjoying what they're doing, and therefore you're a part of it. That's what I feel with this album here. Even they don't love every song, the fact that they're having fun, the fact that they're creating new, different types of art, there is so much more color versus the kind of very monochromatic X and Y. I'm a fan of. I would say they're most artistically successful, but I still love the crap out of it.
Like I said, I love Coldplay when it has life. And this is especially after X and Y. This was like the shot of adrenaline. They're in there, like it starts off like with a bang. Like it's just like it's like this is like the opposite of X and Y. Like we are here to show you something completely different and new, and we're excited for you to hear it. Because I know like with the documentary they showed how they filmed in other locations throughout the world. So it's like you saw them like explore and like try different things, experiment as much as you can as Coldplay. So like. That for me, that's why like these three, like with Viva, Rush of Blood, and Parachutes, are so close to each other. So it's really hard for me to decide. But there's just something like we'll get to the other ones, but there's just something for me where it just didn't quite hit me as hard as the first two albums. So this is why it kind of lives here as number three
potentially. Yeah. Taran, what are your thoughts on Viva?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this album.
Yeah.
I had this album in high school, and I listened to it to death. So I understand I may have nostalgia goggles on for it a little bit.
But
Lovers in Japan is my favorite Coldplay
Oh my
song.
God.
It's
especially
just
for
incredible.
Especially for someone like Clocks rewriting it with Speed of Sound, it's the same thing. It's like an upbeat piano thing, but the toy piano, the texture, the rhythm of it, is just like, now we know how to do this again and do it right and make it interesting.
They do a lot of great like quiet synth layering in the background to like fill out the melodics, and when the guitar comes in on the chorus and it just like emphasizes the beat of it even more. I love that part. I personally don't think there's a weak song on here. I think the weakest parts are like the hidden moments, like Rain of Love and Chinese Sleep Chant. But like the main track songs are all just fantastic to me. I really like Strawberry Swing. I think Violet Hill is like not their strongest, but I like it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Viva La Vida, one of their biggest hits. And I speaking of their ending tracks being strong, I think this is Death and All of His Friends is one of their strongest to me, which is why I would personally put Rush of Blood below Viva La Vida. Because I really, really like all three of these albums a lot.
I know that's... So you talk about nostalgia goggles. It's like
Gaggles.
gaggles.
Yeah.
So that's something that I was like struggling with coming up with this top 3 because Parachutes and Rush of Blood have like honestly like for me definitive albums in me enjoying music.
Sure, right.
And so like doing these re-listens, because I really listened to each one like 8 times. So it's like that really helped kind of break out of that nostalgia.
Yeah.
Especially from also just me, because I didn't really know like Everyday Life or like Ghost Stories that well, so it's kind of good to like get back into it. But going with those Splitting Hairs, because as much as I do love Rush of Blood, and I think I think it is just so impactful. Like its songs hit so hard, but there is a song on there that I really just don't like.
Which is?
And I really don't like A Whisper.
Yes.
So in these cases, because there really isn't a weak song on Viva La Vida, where really I wouldn't like it is.
Right.
As much as I mean, to me, there's like I feel like Rush of Blood has the most like I feel like iconic songs, like quintessential Coldplay. I could put that at 3, mainly just because of A Whisper.
Yeah.
Mainly because I really don't like A Whisper.
Fun fact, and I only found this out later, I was just listening to it, I'm like, I don't remember. I was listening to both my Spotify and my regular media player at home, and I'm just like, why don't I have A Whisper on there? And I just did that thing as a kid that sometimes you did, when you would go ahead and when you would rip a CD, maybe there's a couple, 1 or 2 songs that you would forget. Which like as a kid,
you don't like, and you're like, oh, I'm
not going to listen to this again, which of course later on in life I'm like, what a fucking idiot, dumb kid me. And the thing is that I'm just like, why didn't I have A Whisper? And listening to it, I can hear exactly what you mean. I'm like, I mean, it's not the worst song ever, but I don't love it. And for me, honestly, the title track, Rush of Blood to the Head, doesn't strike me in the same way.
It's pretty. I think that's the weakest track on here for me. Is the title track.
But let's just talk about this album for a second, because when you open with something as crashing as Politic, it sounds abrasive, but it develops. Perfect. As soon as it gets down to that small piano and just you're like, oh my god.
So here's then for me like a slight demerit though is that I think I really like the song In My Place, but it feels sonically weird coming right after Politic.
I agree. I think it should have been later on the album.
Because because Politic is so crashing, and then it goes into this like really sweet
lushly
song.
Melodic,
and it just like I remember as a kid my instinct was to skip In My Place just because it just had such an abrupt change that just like it didn't like click with me. But like when you get into In My Place, it's a beautiful song, it's a wonderful song, I really like as a song itself I love it.
Yeah.
But just its placement is weird. So again, if we're splitting hairs to like move these top 3 around, these are my reasoning to have a Rush of Blood be at number 3 instead of Viva.
Yeah. The other thing about Rush of Blood for me is that even though like Clocks and The Scientist are still both like 2 of my favorite Coldplay songs, they're so omnipresent and they've been everywhere for so long that my instinct is to skip them. Even though like The Scientist specifically, once I get into it, I'm very glad I'm there. I fucking love that song, absolutely.
You hear those opening piano chords though,
but when I hear do 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 do, I literally can't stop the eye roll. Even though I do think it's a really good song. It's their signature, but it's just like it's been used in commercials and it's been sampled and it's been covered and it's like you hear it in the mall.
So it's hard for you to kind of go back into that place like way back when like you heard it for the first time.
Exactly.
I was enjoying it. So, okay, got it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I will say though, I remember as part of because I was a fan of Parachutes, I had that album initially. I remember reading, me and my roommate at the time in college, I think we were reading some of the stuff about Rush of Blood coming out, and Chris Martin said that we have a song on there where it's one of the best riffs we've ever written, and it's God Put a Smile on My Face, and he was just so excited about it. Like, it is, again, a little bit Radiohead worship, but in a wonderful way. It's so direct, it's impactful, but my favorite songs on here, if I'm being real, Green Eyes and Warning Sign.
I love Green Eyes.
Like, it doesn't feel too overt. It's just this lovely little acoustic thing. And the thing is,
it almost feels a little country western.
Yeah.
Oh, it
He
does.
almost puts on like just the tiniest twang, which then with the Johnny Cash tribute on the next album, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes some sense.
And he even said Green Eyes was kind of done as also another Johnny Cash tribute, even before he passed, just because he loved Johnny Cash so much. And Warning Sign is just this simple. It's a song that like would have been a regular album track, but it just is so effective. There's such a lushness, and it's weird how comparing that, how sonically I feel it's kind of similar to X and Y more than Parachutes even, but at the same time, this is how you diversify your sound, this is how you mix things up track to track. Like, it is just so much more of a masterclass in how to do that. And even if I don't love A Whisper and A Rush of Blood to the Head, I still love Amsterdam, and for me,
I love
Oh my god.
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
I kind of like, for me, this is like one like the best last songs they have. It's just so hard because I just love this album so much, but I just think there's something actually so exciting about Viva La Vida, especially like, I think if you look at the rest of just their albums, like it's kind of a standalone of its own, like in it sonically and in how it sounds. Like they don't have it like all the others kind of like how you can see the influences in other albums of theirs, like, especially later. Whereas like Viva, you still kind of its own thing.
So I will say one thing about it though, despite the fact that A Whisper and Rush of Blood aren't as strong, I would say the rest of the songs by themselves are so impactful to me. My personal vote is Viva at number 3 and then Rush at number 2. That's me. That's just me. Where do you land, Mitch?
I did not think this was gonna happen, but I would put Rush at 3.
Yes, that's how I feel.
Okay, all right, let's go ahead. Let us lock it in. So let's go ahead. Let's just briefly talk about it real quick. That is X and Y at number 8. That is ahead.
You're literally doing the opposite.
I'm doing the opposite thing on my rating thing. Exactly. My apologies. So that is X and Y at number 8. That is A Head Full of Dreams at number 7. That is Ghost Stories at number 6. That is Everyday Life at number 5. That is Milo Xyloto at number 4. That is A Rush of Blood to the Head at number 3. That is Viva La Vida or Death Is All His Friends at number 2. Guys, why is Parachute so fucking good?
I don't know, man.
I don't know what it is about their debut, and the thing is, I honestly think there's just something, I'm not sure if it's them being earnest, I'm not sure if it's them just like, that first attempt or whatever, but there is not a weak song on this record.
I love
even Parachutes as a fucking 42-second little acoustic little interlude works because High Speed is glorious to me. I mean, Don't Panic was incredible, but when the guitars come in on Shiver, like just that...
Oh, you mean my favorite song of theirs?
Yeah.
I love Shiver. I have always loved Shiver. This is like, again, nostalgia. Like, it was so hard to not have Parachutes at 1. Shiver is my favorite. I think it just... Yeah, it's a great... Because Don't Panic is a great opening, but then I really, like, when you go into Shiver, it's like... Then it really sets the tone for the rest of the album.
Yes, totally. Don't Panic is the perfect introduction because it's nice and short, but it still feels like a fully realized thought. But then when Shiver comes in, you're like, okay, now here we go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely agree. It just doesn't let up from there. And this is definitely the album where like I knew Don't Panic, I knew Yellow, and that was really it. Except this again, I was going through and I could immediately hum all of these songs, and I think part of that might be because I heard it a little earlier, but part of that too is just because I think the riffs here and the melodic songwriting and just you can hear I think the four of them really had some true chemistry with each other as bandmates, and because there isn't any of the production-y woo-wah happening, it's just their instruments and Chris singing. There's something magical here. I mean, he also never sings like this again.
Right.
He never sings like this again, and it's so strange to me. I think there's something as he goes, and that's again why I would call them a pop band even early, is because even by Rush of Blood, and especially X and Y, he's changed the way he's singing to be less rock and be more pop.
I would also say, though, lyrically, I don't know what fucking thing he was drinking in college that made him do this, but, like, lyrically, it is so... By the time he gets to Sparks, and it's this lazy jazz line, and it's just so beautiful, and just, I saw sparks, like, it is such a special, impactful, and wonderful moment that I just can't believe that, like, he wasn't able to capture, even on Yellow, of just a line of, like, you know, I bleed myself dry. Like, that is such a striking, incredible line by itself, and I don't feel like throughout the rest of his discography, he had moments, certainly, but just everything lyrically here, it was compact, it was forceful, it was full of just beautiful imagery and metaphor.
No song overstays its welcome.
Absolutely.
It's exactly the length it should be.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
Even the 5-minute songs here absolutely earn their runtime.
Yes.
Whereas I would say even a little bit on Rush of Blood, but especially obviously X and Y, every fucking song is 5 minutes, and many of them do not need to be. Whereas like Parachutes, they use every single second of the airtime that they have.
And see, I liked going from Parachutes to Rush of Blood. It was great, like, as a fan during that time. It was really cool to hear that growth.
Completely.
You know, and
totally.
like, especially sound and everything. But there is just something so perfect about the simplicity of Parachutes. and just again how every song is in the right place, like how it just everything it's just so well thought out. It's such a great album.
And and this is a weird thing to say too, but I really feel like Guy Berryman, the bassist, he shows off more on this album than he does it anywhere else. Because even on Shiver, like when they get that loud and clear part, like that, and you hear that little doom doom doom, like that kind of rising action he does, there's so much more interplay. I feel like he's so much more of an interesting musician on here than he is almost like anywhere else.
Well,
like,
and again though, I think part of that is the production choices that are made later, is that, you know, they move so much more in an electronic direction, in a studio production direction, that then there's more layers, and so the bass doesn't have as much room to stand out and shine. It's not like up in the mid mix when he's playing the higher notes.
Yeah.
It's sure as hell isn't up and up. Like, you know, obviously there's still bass on all their songs later, but it's not like the prominent feature like it is in a lot of places here.
And I also think that this album actually is really timeless, whereas like Milo, we know exactly when that came out. You know what I mean? Totally. And like Head Full of Dreams, you know exactly when it came out. This, everything about it, even with the songwriting and even like that in the production of it, it could come out. It could have come out at any time.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's sort of the magic of that garage band sound, is that like people will always want to get together with their friends and from college and form a 4-piece and jam. Like there's always going to be that. So there's always going to be a relevancy for that type of rock in that music.
But also, I mean, we've heard some of their early EPs too. Like the thing is,
they were great.
Yeah, and the thing is that like they were able to streamline into what they are so specifically on here. It is a masterpiece. In fact, you know what, guys? I'm going to call it right now. Number 8, X and Y. Number 7, Head Full of Dreams. Number 6, Ghost Stories. Number 5, Everyday Life. Number 4, Milo Zaloto. Number 3, Rush of Blood to the Head. Number 2, Viva La Vida or Death and All His Friends. And number 1, we all knew it was going to happen, the Kaleidoscope EP. It's so good. Everyone loves every song
Featuring
off
Big
it.
Sean.
Featuring Big Sean. It is Parachutes, guys. And listen, we've had a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it, but you know what? We have a lot more to talk about. We got to fucking talk about their worst songs. We got to talk about their Super Bowl. We got to talk about their Chainsmokers collaboration. We don't really, but we're going to talk about it anyway. And that's going to be in a happy hour mini-sode right after this. But in the meantime, though, Mitch, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This was fantastic. I wasn't stressing about it, but I was literally like racking my brain, like I don't know how I'm gonna rate, like literally like the top like 4 or 5
and that's, sometimes we just have to hear each other's opinions on it, and you're like, that makes sense to me. Okay, now we can lock it in.
I needed you to mention. Made it okay for me to not like a whisper to them. Yeah! So I feel bad that I had a Rush of Blood at 3 instead of 2.
I totally, because I was making my own sort of like pseudo list, and I like truly after the first 2, I was like, this is all sort of a mishmash. But I was really surprised we basically agreed.
Yeah.
Overall.
I wonder if that's other people's Coldplay's experiences. In fact, I would love to hear from you. Find us on our Facebook. Please let us know. We're on Twitter on The Chartographers if you want to find us that way. Or send us an email to thechartographers@gmail.com if you want to
leave a comment on SoundCloud.
Leave us a 5-star review if you agree. And if you don't agree, we'll know it's a bad 5-star review. So just go ahead and let us know about that. In the meantime, though, guys, thank you so much for listening. Keep on listening, because you know that we'll be. Have a good one. See you in the Happy Hour mini-sode. Goodbye.
Hey, what's up, friends? This is J.W. Basillo. I'm just dropping by to tell you about my brand new radio show premiering April 16th. It's called Busted Mouth. It's a weekly show. It's full of stories, comedy, great interviews, and a ton of really underappreciated rock and roll records. Come hang out with me. It's every Monday at 12 p.m. Central on Q4 Radio, streaming live worldwide at q4.org or at 1680 a.m. in Chicago. The podcast version of the show is available the following Wednesday, almost everywhere podcasts are found. That's Busted Mouth, BUSTEDMOUTH. I'll see you soon. It's midday Monday. What else you gotta do? Come by. I'll spin some records. We'll have some laughs.